Buck up, little buckaroo, don't let the monkeys get to you. Hold on tight and you'll get through. Buck up, little buckaroo. Cheer up, little sunshine girl, there's lots of pain in this cruel world. Lots of rain falls on you, girl. Cheer up, little sunshine girl. Oh, it's gonna be alright. Alright, I want you to know that you've come a long, 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 long way. And you've still got a long way to go. Hello again, this is Maxwell Ivy, known around the world as The Blind Blogger, and you can find me at theblindblogger.net. And while we are working towards relaunching the show, What's Your Excuse, on the Global Voice Radio Network, I thought I'd record a little bit of maybe a story or teach you a little bit of a lesson today just to tide you over until the show gets back going full speed again. So if you want to find out anything about me, you can always go to theblindblogger.net. And today I want to talk to you about one of my favorite phrases or quotes. It's from the movie Star Wars, and it goes, "There is no big or small, there only is." It's from Yoda in the second part of the first three movies. Don't ask me which one that was because I lose track of the names. But I've seen it from both sides, because when I first started doing radio shows and podcasts, I was going after whatever show I could find that was a good fit for my story, and the host seemed like a good guy or girl. And eventually I sent an email to a guy, his name was Lloyd Rosen, and he replied back saying he wanted me on his show, and at the bottom of the email was his signature. And in his signature it mentioned that he had 50,000 regular listeners. So for a short time I was like, man, I can't do a show. That's too big. That's too many people listening. And thankfully, my really good friends online are like, Max, this is no different than what you've been doing. You're going to be sharing your story with one other person. It's just this time there are going to be even more people listening. They also reminded me that it's my story and that there's no question I can be asked that I don't know the answer to, that I'm not perfectly aware of what my experience was, what the lesson should be. Yeah, sometimes the host will see things in a story that I didn't see when I first told it or the 10th time I told it. And I often find myself learning as much from the host as I share with their audience. But it was an important reminder that just because the audience is bigger or the platform is unusual or maybe it's not your hometown or your neighborhood, it doesn't mean it's harder, more difficult, or should be scarier. It's just different. The amount of people involved is larger. And I think far too often people get tripped up. I did myself. And, since then, it hasn't happened again. One, because I realized that it really isn't all that different. The size of the audience doesn't affect the message. The other thing that I have learned is that we are often meant to do things that scare us. At the beginning of this episode or recording, I sang some music from a good friend of mine that I met on the train. Her name is Donna Jean Foster, and she likes the way I sing the song, so I'm hoping she's good with me using it in this episode. If she ain't, we'll hear about it. But I used to be afraid to sing in public. I would even lower my voice when friends and family would hear me singing, and I've gone from that to using a little bit of music in my podcast intros to recording full songs to even singing on the stage. But it's something that still makes me nervous, so I do it. And I hope people know that I'm doing it, even though it scares me, even though lots of people who are professional performers who sing in front of 3 or 4 or 5,000 people like it's nothing are really impressed when I sing a cappella at the end of interviews. So that's the big side of there is no big or small, but I recently was reminded of the small side of there is no big or small. I think when we start out doing something, it's our goal because it's just a natural thing to want to do more or do it better. So it's like we have to find bigger audiences, more important, higher value, higher prestige audiences. But that does not mean that the small audience doesn't provide just as much value. And something I have told podcast promotion clients of mine is that never decide on whether or not to appear on a show based on their audience, because a news show, somebody who's only done 4 or 5 episodes, they could have a very loyal but small following of people who listen to every word, who share every episode, who leave comments and tell their friends, hey, you got to go watch this, or hey, I learned something new on this show. You've got to go check out the guest on my friend's podcast or radio show or TV show. So you never make a decision based on the size of the audience. Just yesterday, at the time I'm recording this, I gave a presentation for a group called the Visually Impaired People of Southeast Texas. Now, I knew going into it, it wasn't going to be a huge audience. I just wanted to know as far as what kind of room to expect. I asked the founder and president, I guess you would call him Ron, and he said, well, we usually have at least 10. Sometimes we'll have 15 or 20, and every once in a while even 25. I was pleasantly surprised that they had 27 last night. But people would ask me, Max, why would you put yourself out? Why would you take an Uber and go to an event and get dressed up and give a talk to a group that had 27 people? Well, as we used to tell them on the Midway, it only takes one to win, sir. Just one in the old milk can. Just one ball in the hoop. Just one baseball in the bushel baskets. So there may, I had no way of knowing when I got there, but there could always be one maybe unseemingly important person. One person who has a big mouth online, or who just has the time and the energy. If they fall in love with you, they will work their butts off to tell people about you, your podcast, your website. And you may make connections. It may be a networking opportunity. You may meet one person who knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. And I think that I made some great new friends. We had some good food, some laughs, and some conversation after it was over with. And I got to share my story. I have a video of it that I'll be posting soon. It was more experience. It was fun. It was local, so I didn't have to kill myself physically. It wasn't a big investment financially. And it was a great event. I'm looking forward to seeing where the connections I made last night lead, and where the people that I met who got me involved in giving the talk to the VIPs group, where my connections with them are going to take me in the future. So just because something doesn't look like it's a big deal doesn't mean it isn't, or that it couldn't be. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't give your very best or give up your time to be involved in it. In the end, you have to make the decision as to what is best for you, your time, your schedule, your business, your family, and see if it's a good fit. But I hope that people don't make decisions based on the size of the audience. Don't let a huge, or at least unusually large audience for your standards scare you out of showing up. And don't let a small audience make you make that bad assumption that they aren't worth talking to, that they aren't worth spending your time on, because it really does only take one person. And that one person doesn't have to be Oprah or Ellen. It just has to be one person who's passionate, who has other friends and family and social media followers online, who can start that wave, who can start that viral video or blog post that everybody is craving for, that will make them famous or infamous and get people to visiting their website and buying their stuff. So remember, there is no big or small, there only is. Think about opportunities, situations, events, relationships. Think about them on the basis of their value. Do they make you happy, bring you joy, provide you a source of inspiration, education, or information? If they bring value or joy or fun into your life, then don't worry about the size. If they scare you, if they intimidate you, again, try not to focus on the size. Focus on the mission, focus on the job, focus on why you're there, what your purpose is. And in my case, my purpose always comes back to helping others by sharing my stories, teaching life lessons, and inspiring and motivating them to take action in their own lives, however small the action may be. And as my friends told me this week when I admitted that I was a little nervous about using Uber to go to this event, they're like, Max, every time you go on an adventure, big or small, you encourage other people to go on their own adventures. So please don't let the apparent size of the audience affect your decision. Also, don't make decisions just because something is different, unusual, or not what you're used to. If you think about it long enough, you'll find similarities. You'll be able to say, yeah, this is different, but there's no difference between giving a talk in front of 200 people in New York and giving a talk in front of 27 people in Houston, Texas. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed this episode. I hope you get something out of it, and if you do, I'd appreciate it if you'd let me know through the comments on the video or on my website once I've posted it. If you want to hire me to get you more exposure by connecting you with the hosts of podcasts, radio shows, and virtual summits, or introducing you to the owners of online magazines, blogs, and maybe even the occasional television show or interview show on television or YouTube, then please go to theblindblogger.net and look for the online publicity page. You can find out how I do it, what I do, and what I charge. And if you have any questions at all, just use the contact form or send an email to justask@theblindblogger.net. I do appreciate your time and your continued love and support. So until next time, thank you, God bless you, and take care out there. Too many times we stand aside and let the waters slip away, to what we've put off to tomorrow has finally come today. So don't stand upon the shoreline and say you're satisfied. Choose to chance the rapids and dare to dance the tide.